years gone by, it's becoming increasingly difficult for those who enjoy high-quality sound, aka the audiophiles in the crowd, to find a phone worthy of their praise, let alone with a headphone jack to begin with. That's where the hero we need, but not the one we deserve right now, comes into play. LG. Once a top dog in the smartphone market, LG got risky and played with the concept of modular phones with the LG V5, which fell a little flat. And that's putting it very nicely. That's the last place I can trace LG to having much relevance in the market. However, with the V series phones, LG has stuck to their guns in providing a great multimedia and enhanced smartphone for the audiophiles and cinematographers alike. And for 2 years now, I have been blessed with the greatness of LG's multimedia powerhouse V series phones. Stick around, let me tell you about them. I'm Dave with TechDove, and this is my LG V40 review. The V40 follows the trend of nearly all 2018 flagship smartphones by including a notch in its display. Not much of a surprise to me after seeing the G7 earlier in the year included one. That display measures in at 6.4 inches with a resolution of 3120 by 1440, giving it a sharp pixel density of 537 pixels per inch, with a 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio. And since it's an OLED panel designed in-house by LG, it produces deep blacks and punchy, vivid colors. Although the contrast, in my experience, hasn't been quite as good as Samsung's panels, also used in the iPhone X series phones. Many have struggled with LG's panels in direct sunlight in years past, however this wasn't an issue for me, since the V40 on auto brightness can reach a peak brightness of nearly 700 nits. This display is a serious step up from last year's V30, which wasn't a bad display by any means, but shows just how far LG has come with their displays. Let's all give them a golf clap for acknowledging it, instead of using the same panel for 4 years. The V40 is similar to most other flagship devices in 2017 and 2018. It's a glass sandwich with a slight curve to the back glass meeting on a metal frame, except this time around front, LG ditches the curving front glass, which I really enjoyed on last year's V30. You know, before they added the questionable ThinQ branding. As with last year's LG V30, the V40 retains its IP68 dust and water resistance, as well as the military-grade 810G drop rating, although it feels a bit too light. The back glass doesn't really feel like glass, like say the back of an iPhone or a Samsung device does. At the bottom sits a headphone jack, microphone, charging port, and speaker. On the right side we have the power button and SIM card tray, which also doubles as microSD. Thanks for that one, LG. Left side is the volume rocker and programmable assistant button mapped to Google Assistant by default. In a time where most manufacturers have killed off the headphone jack, LG resists temptation for one more flagship cycle by not just including a headphone jack, but one with a 32-bit DAC. For those of you unfamiliar with that term, it means digital to analog converter, which is able to power much higher impedance headphones than a traditional smartphone could ever dream of. Remember that part I mentioned about the audiophiles device? Yeah, this would be it right here, with the V40 having no issues driving my Sennheiser cans while providing extensive granular control over the EQ and audio presets. Seriously, the DAC in this phone is the truth. And while we're on the topic of audio, LG decided not to include stereo speakers on the V40, instead opting for their boombox single speaker mounted on bottom next to the USB-C Quick Charge 3 port. It utilizes some empty space in the phone's body as a resonance chamber, seemingly enhancing the phone's volume when you place it on a flat surface. And surprisingly enough, it actually works. I'm gonna be honest, I'd much prefer the stereo speakers, but this isn't a terrible solution either. Call quality is about what you would expect. It sounds good with no issues on either end of the call, though the off-center earpiece does take some getting used to. Once again, we have a 2018 flagship Android phone here, so as expected, the Snapdragon 845 is running the show here. Paired with 6GB of RAM and either 64 or 128GB of expandable storage via the microSD card slot, with no lag, stutter, or drop frames that I could see even in heavy gaming or multitasking. The V40 is running on an older version of Android, not currently at Android 9.0 Pie yet. Data speed over AT&T's 5G network are great. Just kidding, it's 4G LTE, don't let them fool you. Reaching speeds of 125 megabits per second up and 85 megabits per second down. The V40 sits the odd man out. Other than the iPhones, it's one of the few flagship Android phones still using a smallish 3300 mAh power pack. You would assume that would lead to below average battery life, however, you would be wrong. in my usage of the phone, it went head-to-head with the Note 9 with its 4000 mAh battery. This is likely to do with some background power management LG is going on, but I was able to end the day with 5.5 hours of screen on time and about 25% charge remaining, though I wish LG had opted for a tad bit higher of a milliamp hour rating here. If you do end up getting low, LG included a quick charge 3.0 charger in the box. Get out that innovation pen, Apple. This is going to be a nice feature for you to invent next year. Now to the cameras. What a topic. LG saw fit to outfit the V40 with not just 2 but 3 rear cameras. One standard lens 12 megapixel sensor at an f1.5 aperture with optical image stabilization and dual phase detection autofocus. The secondary sensor is a 12 megapixel telephoto zoom sensor with an f2.4 aperture also with optical image stabilization. And the third is their famous ultra-wide 16 megapixel with a 107-degree field of view and no autofocus. It's capable of recording 4K 60 FPS, 1080 30 or 60 FPS, as well as 240 FPS slow motion, all with stereo 24-bit audio recording through LG's stellar microphones. Around front, housed in the notch, is an additional 2 cameras for selfie, an 8 megapixel standard lens with an aperture of f1.9 and a secondary wide-angle sensor at f2.2 with an angle of 90 degrees for group portraits. Now that the camera specs are out of the way, and I'm nearly out of breath from talking so much, the V40 is a content creator's dream. With its vast camera selection and plethora of photo and video modes, this is squarely targeted at creators. There's Cine Video Mode, which is a flat color profile you can tweak later on in editing, as well as a granular control of both video and audio capture. LG also has an auto zoom mode that will keep track of a targeted subject during zooming, as well as their triple shot feature that stitches together a shot from all 3 rear cameras into a live photo type deal. The V40 offers so much for a flagship phone, even with rivals such as the Note 9 or iPhone XS, and newcomers into the flagship market, such as the Razer Phone 2. The V40 does provide a decent value, as insane as that sounds, for $970, but the unfortunate reality is the flagship market has become so comfortable charging outrageous prices. Even despite this, I'd say the V40 is totally worth it, even if it isn't the market leader it once was. And certainly it's the only remaining flagship device for audiophiles, as well as creators, with all the tools it offers and its versatile cameras. So here's the lowdown. If you've never experienced the glory of an LG V series phone, this phone is a serious win for the creative type. If you have the V30, I'd say skip this one, since we're already closing in on the G8 and V50 later in this year. I'm Dave with TechDove. Thank you for watching. Consider getting subscribed, dropping a like, and hanging out in the comments with me if you have any questions. And be sure to hit the bell icon so you won't miss my Razer Phone 2 review coming very soon. Thanks for watching.